Greetings. I just had this, I'm thinking of where we're going to go in the next video in this series. And it's nighttime, and I can't sing because I'm going to bother the neighbors. But the cauldron was churning, the wheels were spinning, and I just want to get us ready. I want to get us ready as beginners getting into operatic singing. Where are we going? Because we've spent a lot of time talking about low voice. We've had some nice exercises to discover the full range of our low voice. For the most part, haven't talked about that like extra lower extension that bass baritones and basses have to deal with, and maybe we'll do that later. But we have exercises that span a fifth or a sixth, and we've definitely covered the full opening on the top of the first V, and what might happen with the mouth in terms of getting a little wider and bigger and losing some shaping. We've talked about shaping all the way down, and we haven't talked necessarily about places that you're going to feel resonance in that part of your voice, because that's just more subjective, I think. A lot of people talk about feeling it in their chest. For whatever reason, this is not a big place of sensation for me. But it is for a lot of people, so it's worth thinking about. But there's a purity to it. There's a speech-like purity to that part of your voice. And so it's a little less complicated than what comes next. And what's going to come next is middle voice. Middle voice. If your mother was across the street and you twisted your ankle in the neighborhood soccer game and you needed her to come get you an ice bag, the voice that you would use to get her attention is middle voice. Mom! Mom! Now, the characteristics that middle voice is going to take on that is different than the lower part of your voice. Now we can call this, you hear so many different, there's no common terminology, so just make sure we're on the same page. Some people call it zona di passaggio. Some people call it middle voice. Some people call it gear 2. Some people call it mix. Okay. What other? I think those are some of the main ones. Low, middle, high, gear 1, gear 2, gear 3. Petto, zona di passaggio, testa. I don't know exactly what they say in Italian. I'm sorry. Anyway, here we are. We're going to middle voice. So for me, that's anytime that we talk about passaggio, we're talking about turning points. Usually, that's the common parlance. So for me, starts at about A, and it ends at about E natural. Like I'm gonna sing pretty much all my ahs in middle voice, including E flat. I might even sing some of them down a half step on A flat, but definitely for sure A through E flat when it's mezzo forte or forte. Okay, and that's the zone of singing that we're talking about. You're going to experience in middle voice a more open mouth, way more modification. The concept of modification is really going to start now. A feeling more height in the space. to some degree, more bottom of the space. I mean, depending on the vowel and the part of middle voice that it's in. You're going to feel a different resonator, which is the head is going to come in. That's why they call it the mix, because you feel some chest and some head. I guess this is all subjective, because that's not just, I guess I would sort of describe it that way, but that's just not how I conceptualize singing as much. All your vowels are going to get at least one shade darker. You cannot anymore sing ah the way that you sang fifth below your primo passaggio turning point. Can't do it. It is now going to be AW at best, if not open O sometimes when you're down at the bottom of middle voice. And you got to shape it. Oh. Doppia mira. Meglio. Oh my God, I just blanked on several ballati. Meglio l'arcano dissimulando scoprir potro. The O's are going to be very similar to the open O's in that phrase. This is the bottom of that V. It has to get dark, especially down at the bottom. And it's dark all the way through. It just feels, it doesn't have that corresponding brightness of resonance. And the mouth is more shaped more like O's and Oo's down there. But it's going to happen to all your vowels until you get to the top 2 half steps, I would say. And then it's going to all of a sudden get a little brighter. And that AW is going to go back to an AH to some degree. But now you're going to have this big laryngeal tilt and major resonance in your head space. And a real threatening position to put your body in, honestly. That threat is going to extend up when we get to top voice, but the real big threat happens now. In the top 3 half steps, really, of your middle voice. The top 2 are very intense. I'd say the bottom, the least high, so for me that's about D flat, 4. That one feels pretty good most of the time. It feels strong and powerful, but it's not like a super threat. D is now, D, we're in serious business. This is the singing register. This is where composers want to put us for as much time as possible. It's very beautiful. It's opulent. It now takes on that instrumental characteristic that's a little bit less pronounced in chest voice. It's more sustainable than our top voice. Our top voice can't handle a whole ton of action. We can't hang out there as much as we hang out in middle voice. This is the opera, the main bulk of where opera happens is right here. And we want to have this sense of major projection, and we want to disassociate from text a little bit when we're learning middle voice, definitely when we're learning top voice, because we want to get the space and the modification and the shaping and the threatening part of it. We want to get that right. We want to develop our power as singers here, almost more than anywhere else. Because when you develop it here, there's a corresponding effect. So just be prepared, and be prepared for the first kind of threatening sounds, the first amphitheater filling sounds that you're going to make when we work on middle voice. And we talked a little bit about playing with vowels and experimenting and kind of putting yourself in a position of having to be courageous. That is now the way that we talked about it in the last video. Was whatever sense of courage and humiliation that you felt then, it is now going to go to a whole nother level. And it's going to go even to a level beyond that in top voice. Because when you're first learning this, you're going to make horrible sounds, probably. When you continue, you're going to make horrible sounds. When you're sick and you're trying to get out of it, like me right now. Or, knowing that this is, now that we're in full tilt, full athletic position, things go wrong in sports. We're in sport mode now. Things are going to go wrong for you here. You got to be okay with that. You got to be settled with that in your soul. Perfection is out the window. Now, true abandonment of ego and full vulnerability to be able to figure out how to do this. You got to find it within yourself, because it's going to be, you're going to have to put your throat in danger in a certain kind of way. You're going to have to be willing to kind of lose your voice in lessons and as you practice. I'm not advocating that you should try to lose your voice when you practice, but in the process of figuring out how to sing, you're definitely going to lose your voice. I mean, you're definitely going to walk out like, Jesus, what happened? That shouldn't be the aim, but it's going to be a result. So, to cover the main things, we're going to feel a bigger space back here, and definitely in the mouth. We're going to have darker vowels, taller vowels. Head resonance is going to make itself present all of a sudden in a big way. You're going to feel a bellowing sensation. And the first real threat that you put your voice under is going to come in on those 2 half steps below the secondo passaggio. I like to call them, the guy I talked to the most about singing, Sam White, liked to call it the dragon's breath, which I've now adopted that term as well. So about the 2 half steps below the secondo. And they are big, scary noises. Big, scary noises. And for those of you who don't want to sing opera at the end of the day, they're really, getting those right is like super important for being able to belt. And really, like a lot, I think a lot of belting is being able to take those 2 half steps up another second, or possibly minor third, or maybe even a major third. That would be really hard. But yeah, that's for a different conversation to go into that exactly. But yeah, this part of your voice is in the M-team land, this is it. This is the moneymaker spot for a lot of songs. Not the moneymaker spot for opera necessarily. That's going to be more in our top voice. But anyway, those are the main things we're going to experience up here. More open space in the back, more open space in the front, taller, darker vowels. majorly modified vowels. Head voice making itself very present. The sensation of the head being a resonator is going to make itself very present. And the threat that you're going to place your throat under in those 2 half steps underneath the secondo passaggio. These are the things that we're going to be looking at when we address middle voice. Prepare mentally. We will get some exercises in here soon.